Good morning, and welcome to the Mental Breakdown Morning Show. I'm Dr. Bernie Wilkinson.
I'm Dr. Richard Marshall.
Happy Wednesday, October 19th, 2016, Dr. Marshall.
Yes, Dr. Wilkinson. We've had pine tar and nails for breakfast.
Man.
And we're ready to go. No, it's a good Wednesday, right?
It is a good Wednesday.
The weather's a little bit cooler.
It is.
Here in Florida, Noreen.
It is.
I hope you're there. It's good to meet you, by the way.
And you know, I'm wearing my Pack Florida polo shirt today.
I don't have one of these.
Because I'm going to the...
Why don't I?
You do.
No, I don't.
You wore it to the workshop that we did last year.
I think somebody stole it.
Oh, good gracious. I'm going to after this I go to the jail, and anytime I'm spending most of the day at the jail, I don't usually wear a tie and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's right. You're not supposed to wear a tie to the jail.
Yeah. So I just wore my polo today.
And
then I get outside and it's cold. And
it's cool this morning.
I mean, cool, not cold.
80s.
It was cool.
Low 80s, mid 80s. It's cool.
So, I had a great workshop yesterday with the Florida Association of School Social Workers. It went very, very well.
Good.
But today we're going to talk about coaches today.
That's right. We got a letter or an email. Was it an email or a letter?
No,
email.
It was from a parent who was basically saying, and the email kind of was a lot longer than what we will need to go into, but it was basically, some challenges that the parent was having with some decisions that a coach made at her child's high school. And she was saying that, that there were some decisions made by the coach, and maybe more importantly, some comments made by the coach that really troubled the mother. And her basic underlying question was, at what point should a parent step in?
Oh.
And that is such a great question.
Yesterday there was an article posted about a football coach in Minnesota. There are 5 games left in the high school season. High school football coach who abruptly resigned because he was we don't know the whole story. What the news article said is he resigned amid allegations that no, there were no allegations. He resigned because parents were questioning his coaching decisions.
Right.
And they brought them all the way to the school board. It wasn't that they questioned him privately. They made this very public.
Right.
And the players were upset, and they were trying to have this one group of players was trying to organize a walkout.
Right.
And one of the fathers got up and complained to the school board about playing time. And so they brought this all this criticism. And anybody who's coached, I don't know whether this happens to you or not, but all of the youth coaches I've talked to, every one of them has said parents frequently try to intercede on their children's behalf.
Right.
And so this coach in Minnesota just quit. He said, "I can't do this. If I don't have control over my team, then I'm not going to be able to do this job." Okay.
Right.
So that was in the news yesterday. And so this mother, was it a mother?
Yeah.
Who emailed and said, she's
just want
concerned.
To know, with some of the decisions.
How do I know whether to intervene or not?
Yeah, and again, it was not so much the decisions as it was some of the ways in which those decisions were communicated to the child. And
Okay.
I'll give the example that she provided. But I think you make a really good point that we need to differentiate coaching decisions from the way in which those decisions are communicated. As a coach, one of the things that I do is at the beginning of every season, because I always have a new influx of players at the beginning of the season. At the beginning of the season, I lay it out and I say, look, we are playing at this level. Playtime isn't guaranteed. Playtime will be reflected by the amount of work.
But that's your decision.
That's my decision, and I let the parents know that ahead of time before they even pay their fees.
That's what this coach said. He said it's written in our before the parents sign a statement. We will not discuss playing time.
Right, right. So because of that, I've had relatively few issues with any of my parents.
So they know coming in. We're not going to talk about this.
Okay. And they've been okay with that. What this mother was talking about is, they were having tryouts for their high school team, and the her child, who I guess from what she was describing plays competitive, and he's really a good player the way that she describes and does well, and he was not chosen. for the varsity team. And so her son, it sounds like appropriately so, went up to the coach afterwards and said, "Hey, coach, what can I do? Where were my areas that I need to work on?" And the coach basically said, "You're no good. There's a tremendous difference between you and the other players, and I can tell that they've been playing for years, and so you just have a lot of work to do." And this, of course, devastated her son, who's been playing for years.
Since he was he played since he
yeah,
was
she
a
said
little
that
kid.
that's yeah, and so this was devastating to him because she was talking about how her son came home and was I've been working for all these years. I've been working hard because I wanted to make the varsity team, and then the coach tells me that I'm not, and so it really sounds like it dejected the child. It really kind of pushed his esteem down and really upset him. And so I think it's a great question as to whether or not the mother should contact and get in touch with the school, or at least a coach. And that's a tough situation. On the one hand, you have to respect the coach's decision, because we don't know. As a coach, I know that there are certain things that I look for in particular positions. Right. And you can have a really good player, but he just doesn't fit into my system. There's a lot of examples of this, even in professional sports, where you see these internationally known, recognized, respected players who end up getting cut from teams and sold just because they don't really fit in that system. And so this mom needs to hopefully understand that if her son doesn't fit into that system, then the coach has the opportunity, the responsibility, and I think it is a responsibility for the coach to say, "You know what, you don't fit into this system, and so I'm not choosing you." That, as opposed to choosing him and then making him sit on the bench all season, that would not be good either. So, but to me, just like the mom, the issue is with the way the coach communicated the information to the parent, or actually more importantly to this player. That to me is where there's some problems.
I've had 3 children. They've been involved in high school sports, so I've been doing this for I don't know how many years. And invariably, parents intercede and accuse coaches of. I've seen coaches get accused of bullying,
right,
of playing favorites, of this, of that, and coaches have to eventually defend themselves. I've seen coaches get investigated based on anonymous accusations.
Right.
Okay,
absolutely.
Which I think is absolutely incorrect. Okay,
right.
I think we had to leave our youth coaches alone. I think parents should get out. If you want to coach, become a coach.
Become a coach, right?
If not, you have to step back. There has to be some distance. You can't advocate for your children. You can't protect your children. You can't. Just stay out of that business. Let the coach coach. If you don't trust the coach, then take your child out of the sport.
Right, and let's be honest. As a coach, you can't play everyone.
That's right.
You can't choose.
You have
everyone.
more players than you need,
and so there's going to be someone who's cut. And most parents, especially once you get up to the high school level or competitive levels and things like that, most parents feel like their children are worthy of playing, of starting, and being a headline player. But it doesn't mean that the coach will think the same thing. And so you're right. You have to give that responsibility to the coach.
That's right.
Just like with a teacher. A teacher is the same.
That's the way to approach it. Is think of a coach as a teacher.
Right.
How much do you want to lean on a teacher? How much do you want to criticize a teacher? And again, I think we parents need to step back, let coaches do their job. If you don't agree, but I think that becomes. I think there are 2 issues here. One is, this mom said that it was the way the information was communicated. Okay, that's a different problem than playing time,
exactly,
or what position you play.
Exactly.
Okay? And if that's a problem, mom's question is, should I do anything about it? Okay, I think in the case of badly communicated information, I think then you have a right to say, or at least ask the coach. Right. What you can't accuse, but at least ask the coach, what information did you intend to impart? Right. Because whatever you said to my son, I guess it's her son, whatever you said to my son left him with a bad taste in his mouth.
Right, right. And yeah, I've been sort of working on a email response to this mom because, but it is a difficult, it's hard to come up with good recommendations because, again, you can absolutely see both sides of it. One, anything you say isn't going to matter. It's not going to, you don't want to be in a predicament where you respond to or say something to the coach and then the coach says, okay, well, he can be on the team.
Right.
You don't want that to happen. Right. Because if he doesn't need to be on the team, he doesn't need to be on the team. You can also see that if you say something to the coach and the coach is like, whatever, it's just an upset parent. It's just another one of those parents, who's complaining again. And the coach, basically deletes the email or however it is that you communicate to them, and then he just moves on and is unchanged by it. Right. And so you can definitely see both sides.
Yeah, I think there are two messages here. The message to parents is, don't meddle in coach's business.
Right.
Okay.
In the business of coaching.
Right. And so be very careful that you separate those two things.
Right.
Okay. But there's a message for coaches here.
Right.
And the message for coaches, if you're a youth coach, your first obligation is to model good behavior.
Right.
It's not to win.
Right.
That's second. Okay. Right. I never played tennis in school, but my children do. And so I'm learning the rules of tennis, right. The etiquette of tennis. Mm-hmm. And I've been told, no, you can't do that in tennis. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I said, because my son was misbehaving, acting like, my kids are not going to throw a tennis racket.
Right.
If they do, I'm going to take them off the court.
Right.
Because my first job is to be a parent.
Right.
And that's unacceptable behavior. And people say, oh, no, you can't go down on the court. I said, no, that's my child. And if he's acting that way, I'm going to intervene as a parent. Mm-hmm. Okay. So our first job is to take care of the children, to raise the children. So a coach's first obligation is to the children.
Right.
Not to the record, not to the winning, it's to the children. And so the first obligation is you have to communicate clearly what right. your expectations are. Then you have to live up to those expectations. Mm-hmm. But you have to treat kids fairly.
Right.
A coach can't get involved in the politics of it. The coach doesn't have the luxury of being, well, you're a coach. You don't have the luxury of being angry.
Right.
At anybody.
Right.
Okay. When you're a coach, you don't have that. You don't get to be involved in the interpersonal drama right. of your players. I'm sorry, you don't have, but there shouldn't be any. Because right. you should be setting a tone where that doesn't happen.
Right. And we, what we do on our team is we tell our players, look, and again, we do this from the very beginning and we repeat it throughout. There will be times that we will be demanding. Mm-hmm. There will be times when we'll raise our voice. There will be times when we're going to look upset, but we're not mad at you.
Right.
We're trying to impart information.
Right.
We're trying to help you understand the importance of what we're trying to communicate. And inevitably, what we're seeing is our deficits. Because if you're not doing something on the field that you should be doing,
that's right.
It's because I didn't teach you.
It's like being a parent. It's like being a parent. How do you keep blaming the child?
Right.
If you want your kids to change, the parent has to take action. The parent has to do something.
Right. And so it's absolutely the case, whether you're a competitive coach, AAU coach, or you're a high school coach, or whatever, you're trying to prepare these young athletes for the competition, but for life. And so you have to be able to communicate effectively with them. You can't demean them. You can't demoralize them. It serves no sufficient purpose.
You can't do, just like a good teacher, you can't do anything to hurt. Mm-hmm. You can't do anything to demoralize. You can't do anything that appears to be unfair. You just can't do those things to kids.
Right.
Okay. And you can't do anything that divides kids and pits kids against each other. This is supposed to be a team. Everybody's supposed to be supporting everybody else.
Right.
And if that's not happening, that's a problem. So I guess there's a message for coaches, and that doesn't answer this mother's question, but I think her biggest question is separate the coach's job
right.
from wanting to teach. getting enough information to teach your child a lesson,
Right.
Or to help your child learn a valuable lesson from this.
Right.
When our kids don't make the team, when our kids don't start the game, we can teach them about life. This is how life works. This is the real world. This is how life works. How are you going to deal with this now? Or do you want to just quit this team and move on to something else? Do you want to practice more?
Right.
Do you want to talk to the coach and see what you have to do? That's how you solve these problems. So
Right.
I would say, yeah, separate what is the coach's job from what is your job as a parent.
Right.
And so that your child learns a valuable skill or learns a valuable life lesson from this whole thing.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Besides being angry and resentful.
Right. So I guess our response is
It's a long response.
it depends.
Well,
I think that if you respond to the coach, you begin the information or the email or the correspondence with, your decision is your decision. I have no qualms with your decision.
right, you're the coach.
That's fine.
Right.
However, and then go into what is the real concern, which is, the way in which you talked to him, the way in which you communicated to him that you weren't going to choose him was really problematic. You should not have made assumptions. You shouldn't have, projected on the kid whatever it is. I don't know all the details, but you have to communicate to the coach that you can't do that. And again, fully recognizing and acknowledging ahead of time that it may have absolutely no impact on the coach.
And if the coach is really unfair and dictatorial and haphazard and continues doing this, you may want to consider choosing another activity.
Right.
It's just that your child doesn't fit into that system, or your child doesn't. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
So, it's a tough decision. You're in a real tough place. But I think most importantly is that you want to help your child sort through this so that some lesson is learned.
Right.
Okay. That's
Right.
what you have to do. That's going to be. Most of these kids are not going to play in college, and
Right.
most college players aren't going to play in the pros. So
Right.
we're not talking about athletics here. We're talking about raising our children,
Right.
bringing them up right, keeping them emotionally healthy.
Right. And so, and maybe the last piece that I would say is ask your son what he wants you to do.
Right?
If your son wants you to, sometimes
Or
kids
do it
don't
together.
want you to say anything.
That's right.
Because it's going to, they're worried about some backlash on them. They're worried
Right.
about somebody else finding out. And once you send a message or once you begin a correspondence with the coach, you have no control over what that coach is
That's
going
right.
to do with that information.
That's right.
And so if your son is anxious about you saying anything to the coach, it may not be worth it.
That. Yeah, I would respect
It may
that.
not be worth
That's
it.
good advice. Yep.
So talk with your son about it and see what he thinks and what he feels about it. So.
Right.
All right.
Good advice.
All right.
Let us know what happens, by the way.
Yeah, we'd love to hear
what the outcome is,
yeah.
what you decide to do about it.
Absolutely. So, all right. Well, hope that's helpful, and I'm sure that there's lots of other people sort of in that same
Yeah.
situation.
If you have children.
We love the idea of kids being involved in athletics and sports and stuff, and so these kinds of issues are bound to come up. So,
Right.
All right. That's it for today.
Wednesday.
That's it for Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys have a great day.
Have a
Enjoy
good day.
enjoy the nice weather outside, and we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning, Thursday. Okay.
Yeah, Thursday. All right.
Ciao.
Bye bye.